Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kamen Rider Black Man's 100-day episode. Today, I am celebrating 100 days as a YouTube, and we are all celebrating our first 100 days as a YouTube channel, and to celebrate to many, many more. And what better way to kick off my first 100 days as a YouTuber than by first thanking you all for watching my content, actually giving me feedback on it. It makes me feel so good on the inside when I'm actually able to entertain you guys. And not only that, it's just, I first thought about doing this for fun, and so far it has been fun because with all the schoolwork I do, I still have to do it, but this is not my job primarily. I actually do work, but this is more or less of a hobby for me, to which I do try to take time and do to at least stay consistent, to see just how I can, just to see how far this will actually, to see how this will actually work and see what happens. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. It's pretty fun right now, and there's just a lot more to come, because with this video, with this as a whole, like with how I've been doing this for the last 4 months now, and yet I'm still just getting started, and just, yeah, there's a lot more to come, because this is just the first 100 days. Man, with that said, what better way to celebrate the first 100 days as a YouTube channel, Anyway, today I am doing my first full show review of Tensou Sentai Goseiger. Now, and this is a review that I've been waiting to do for a long time. And so, quick thing about Goseiger. I have not seen this show in a long time, and I actually had to go back and rewatch it. And with that said, this show is amazing. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Yes, there are some of its issues, but I can't deny this show is actually this is a fantastic show. And with that said, let's get into it. First, by talking about the opening. I really like this opening. It's a really good song. It's just, while watching the show and listening to it, like, of course I'm listening to the music as well as reading the lyrics, and I don't know what it is, but the lyrics are pretty good. And it's just the whole Tensou, ready to go on you, Tensou, na 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 na. And the closing songs, same way. It's brilliant. Like, the closing theme song, it's adorable. It's just like, the only way to really describe that ending theme song is adorable, because it makes me want to shake my head and whatnot, like na 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 Tensou, and I just like the feel of it and the rhythm. But with that said, moving on to episode 1, Gosei Angel's Advent, where our show begins with the first villain faction of the series destroying a floating tower in the sky called the Tower of Heaven, and is immediately afterwards encountered by our Red Ranger for this season, Gosei Red. Now, the fight is brief, and it ends with a slash on Gosei Red's arm, leaving a scar that'll play a part in said villain and Red's rivalry, because that bruise was really going to limit him later. And as we move on from there, let's talk about the minions for the season, as well as talking about the suits, because they're the very next thing we see. So, the BBs, or for what it says on the wiki or Super Sentai database, the Dimension Bug Soldiers BBs. I'll give it to them. It's alright. Like, this is the one thing with the minions that I don't want to happen. From the look of designs, Like, I don't want to suspend my disbelief because I'm watching this show, I'm paying attention to everything and feeling everything, and so I don't want small details like that to really throw me off, and that's just me. Now to talk about the suits. These are not bad. These are not bad suits. These are, because the theme for this show is angels, and so which explains the white at the bottom and the gold mixed with it. It's very angelic. Which brings me to another thing. Black is the first Sentai period, and pretty much the only Sentai to be based off of a snake. But yeah, back to the suits. I like the helmets. Like, they're pretty, like, the animal motifs pretty sketched on, and the chests are very nice too. They really do stand out. Now, with all the Goseigers gathered, we now know their names. Alita, our Red Ranger, Eri, our Pink Ranger, Agadi, our Black Ranger, Yellow is Monet, and Hyde is Blue. Now, another thing coming off about their suits is that they all have Pacific crests because they're angels, and not the average regular angels with the wings. Like, they're Gosei angels from a different world called Gosei World, and their crests represent like what tribe each of them are from. Alta and Eri are from the Sky tribe. Agadi and Monet are first-lost siblings and are from the Landric tribe. And Hyde alone is from the Sikh tribe. And now you notice that there are two of each from each tribe, except for Hyde. He's the only one from the Sikh tribe. And that's something I'll get into once we get to the character analysis at the very end. Now, for elements, both Alita and Eri are wind, Monet and Agadi are earth, and Hyde alone is obviously water. And they all meet up, and we learn somewhat little about them, and pretty much they all fall back on archetypes, not just for tribes but for each other too. And it's been a long time since I've seen Goseiger, and everyone's fighting except for Alita because he dropped his card to morph. And it's founded by a little boy named Nozomu, and to which Alita was stalking. I'm sorry, I'll admit this. He was stalking. First of all, yes, Alita was stalking him. He was following him and was reading people's minds as well too. Dude, that is no excuse for a telepathic to use their powers. Now, Nozomu is discovered by the rest of them and is being threatened of getting rid of his memory erased, because it's a rule of Gosei World. No human is to know a thing or even the existence of Gosei angels, and they follow it because they're Gosei angels in training, who just happen to be on Earth to become fully official angels. Well, anywho, Alita gets his card back, but how it goes down is he either knew Nozomu had the card or either way. Let's talk about their weapons, because design-wise, their weapons are very simplistic. And they're simplistic, and they're also standard. They of course, for a sidearm, they get a blaster, but for weapons, Red gets a sword, Pink gets, I think, some type of bowgun or some type of weapon. Blue gets an actual bowgun. Yellow gets a Biclaw, and Black's weapon's my personal favorite weapon, period, because it's a battle axe. And I personally like the designs on Black, and I personally like the weapon designs of Black's axe and Red swords, because gold is just everywhere, making it feel angelic and simplistic. And they can also combine their weapons together to create the Gosei Buster, which also looks simplistic and impressive. Why is that? Because with their weapons, period, like, they can combine individually or in groups, like, they can combine their weapons together, then bring them together to actually make the team finisher, which is effective when they're all not together. But still, I like it though. It almost feels like it could be a weapon to a Megazord. But, moving on from there, Episode 1 ends, and Episode 2 starts off with the proper introduction of the one who destroyed the Tower of Heaven, Director of the Meteor. And there is a total of 3 villain factions in this show, and the first group we meet is Directors, the Universal Annihilation Army Warstar, which consists of Director's ally, Belleduron of the Comet, which we'll talk more about him later because he really plays a part in this show, and their leader, Great King Mons Drake of the planet. And now, he's the leader, but he's not the final villain. And that's something I just had to get out of the way and say, just because. Now, next, and the monster designs in this show are also pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. You know, like, there are some honestly good monster designs all around. Like, my favorite from the Warstars like to be Dreptas. And the Warstar monsters are also based off of movie monsters. And that's pretty much a line gimmick for each villain faction of the show, for each of these shows. Now, in the next few episodes, we learn little by little about our protagonist. And the only one that seems to rub me the wrong way is Monet, because she appears as immature and blockheaded. Like, don't get me wrong, so does Agadi, but he can take a hint about his attitude. But still, both of them together, they're fairly cocky, and that's obnoxious. Which, I'm sorry, if I was on a team with both of them at first, I would say, nope, I'm out. But, moving on to Episode 2, with the Tower of Heaven destroyed, they can't go home, and their trainees, which we are stuck with. Literally like how in the TokuCast puts in their review of Hurricaneger, we're stuck with you. But the difference here is that the 3 of them became the Hurricanegers because they were literally the only ones left. In this, they're stranded and their superiors going, well, they're fucked. Speaking of which, their superior, Master Head, he is the mentor and the one in charge of all of Gosei World, and who will time and again contact them when they need help. And he looks like a Mayan statue of a head. No relation to Almec though, or Zordon, to which you think all these like floating head mentors in Tokusatsu would be connected in some type of way, or not even Facebook friends. Speaking of which, I want to take a moment to talk about their changer, the Tensou. We learn in the show that's a more modern device, but but why it's a tiki head, there's no real explanation. I guess if it's supposed to be based off of Master Head, that's one thing, but that's off by like a mile. Like, in Power Rangers, at least they did something, making, like, the design of the Morpher their mentor as well, which is why they look like that. And that's about all I'll talk about Power Rangers in this episode. Now, yeah. Now, here I am, found my place. Now, Master Head has come in contact with Hyde while everyone's out dealing with a monster, explaining to him a way to recreate a passage from a solar flare that, if struck, that they could use it to get back to their world, but to do so, they would have to combine all of their powers together to make it happen. And seeing the civilians in danger, Hyde remembers his mission, and at that moment, they decided to step up and stay on Earth to fight the War Star. And in this show, going forward, all of the enemies use the same growing technique that Belleron uses, and it's BB bugs, like these eyeball-looking bats, like these eyeballs on the bodies of bats that makes the monsters grow. And from here, we are introduced to the Goseiger Machines. Now, the Goseiger Machines are actually part of a legend of a great miracle bestowed to Gosei angels in their time of need. Now, let's talk about the Goseiger Machines. Black's my personal favorite because it's combining a snake and a train and bringing them together. Like, I will always like mechs that combine like actual animals with modern vehicles, only because RPM. So, yeah, that's pretty much why, because of RPM. And they come together to make Goseiger Great. Now, I like Goseiger Great. Now, my personal part about this mech would have to be the legs, because it makes the Snake Zord work. Like having him connect its tail to the tiger and making them the feet and legs from there, which is actually pretty clever, because yeah, a Snake Zord can actually work. So with that said, yeah, Goseiger Great. I like how this is. It's the sleek design that I'm a bigger fan. It's a sleek design that I'm a fan of, definitely. Next, in episode 4, we get introduced to a new supporting character, Datus, who is sent by Master Head to keep an eye on the Goseigers before the Tower of Heaven was destroyed. Though one question I do have is that, how did he end up at Nozumu's house and knew that they were going to be there, so they'll be staying with Nozumu and his dad? Keep in mind, Master Head is a bit. No, I'm not gonna go that far this time. Anywho, Datus, his design's not bad. It's a computer, and personality alone, he's not annoying. Come to think about it, Datus is like the nicest character in this show. And now, episode 5, Master Head contacts them again to tell them that there are other Gosei Headers out there to support them, but the connection breaks off and they don't know how to summon them. And this is a Hyde and Aguri focus episode, by the way. And they both take turns with focus. And the only reason why I say that is just because, well, to pay attention to character development, because Aguri's thing is that he's too straightforward, and Hyde's thing is that he can be a bit boring. But Hyde's the one who gets 3 new Zords in this episode. The Seik brothers, which is a manta ray, a hammerhead shark, and a saw shark. And I personally like them because they're sky blue, and it's my personal favorite shade of sky blue. And they make, and combined part of the mech, they make Seik Goseiger Great. Now, I like Goseiger Goseiger because here's the thing about the combinations in this show. The headers, like the primary Zord headers, they go down and become the knee pads, while the auxiliary Zords take the spot as the arms, just so nothing would be left out. But yeah, Goseiger Goseiger alone, I like the head because it's so because of the multifunction and design. Because it looks like a pirate hat. It has that eye patch, which can also be an analyzer to find monsters' weaknesses. And so yeah, this is pretty nice. And next, and in episodes 6 and 9, they're filler episodes, but we also get the next set of auxiliary Zords, the Landrick brothers and the Skyek brothers, which of course they make Landrick Goseiger and Skyek Goseiger. Now, for here, Landrick brothers, it's a T-Rex, a rhinoceros, and a stag beetle. Huh. Nice choice of Zords. And they're fall colors too, so yeah. Cool. An orange T-Rex. How's it? We have like an orange T-Rex Zord, but yet an orange dinosaur Sentai. Just a thought. I mean, you have had 3 dinosaur Sentai, so in orange is just coming up like now in Sentai. But anywho, Landrick Goseiger. Oh, and Skyek Goseiger. No, the Skyek brothers are a pteranodon, a crow, and a hawk. To which favorite one, the pteranodon. But anywho, Skyek Goseiger. I mean, blah. Yeah, I'll start with Skyek Goseiger first. I like this because nothing is left out and everything is how it is. The hawks, everything is up at the head and shoulders, and it's a clever way to have the hawk be the crown. And once again, the 2 other birds, they're the shoulders, and I wish they have kept that for the rest for the next combination that I'm gonna get into. But Landrick Goseiger, I like how the rhino and the T-Rex are down at the feet, but the stag beetle feels a bit too robotic as the head, and that's just my only thing there. But like I said, in episodes 6 and 9 are filler episodes, but to pay attention to more, episode 6 is finally getting back to Alita and Director's rivalry, where Alita overcomes his wound, and it's honestly a pretty good episode. Also, I should have mentioned this earlier, they're all physically tied to what element they are, which affects them good or bad, because in some cases it's pretty useful, like in episode 6, like where Alita and Eri are connected to wind, so they use that to have an upper hand against a speedster monster of the week. And I can just skip talking about episode 9. It's just Monet getting sick of Eri, and I don't blame her. Now, episode 11, we actually get a focus episode for Datas, which is technically a Monet focus episode, and this is episode 11. Anywho, but yeah, Datas has just been at Nozomu's house the entire time, being their enemy detector, and he wants to go out and fight. Like, he wants to help out too. But obviously he stands out being a giant, colorful computer. And also, in this episode, Mons Drake of the planet finally shows himself to the Goseigers to empower the monster of the week. And the monster is super powerful now, thanks to Mons Drake. And it just goes to show that he's the big bad for a reason. Like, he's actually able to send power to his subordinates and not just sit on his ass or get a headache. And now, and he actually shows to be a threat to take seriously. And now, his monster's ability throughout the episode is to absorb power, and he also absorbs Gosei power from Gosei Great, and Data is just pissed, like, that he can't do anything until he actually can. A miracle happens, and that shows how much Data really wants to fight, and creates a Gosei header for him, making him Data's Hyper. And I freaking love Data's Hyper. It's all of the royal colors together, blue, white, and gold, and a little bit of red, to make the computer, well, essentially the alpha of the Sentai, his own Megazord, and / boy mech of the season. But still, I love Data's Hyper. It looks so cool because it's not a vehicle and it's not an animal. It's a normal, everyday object, a computer that creates into a Megazord. And I freaking love that. So next, after that, it's episode 12, where Mondrake's now stepping down to Earth with Dorepta to battle the Goseigers and finally use that thing they call that. Also, and how this battle starts, I really like how it looks, because Alex is fighting Dorepta and the main villain is fighting the four of them. And most times when the main villain comes down for the first time, it's either Red that goes alone fighting him or the whole team fighting him together. So just giving Red a tiff to deal with while the rest do something, that shows that it's not always about Red. And now, also, in this battle, Dorepta calls them out, saying that they were late to stopping him from destroying the Tower of Heaven. And they take that and they get pissed off like immediately. So much that they run from there and shit literally happens and they can't continue fighting. I don't know, it is like... Now, in this episode, or at least in general, the Earth is somewhat of an entity that connects to everything, and I guess it was either Masterhead or the Earth that cancels their transformation, and they can't even do like a Tensou technique because the Earth just went, no, they can't slip up all the progress they've made so far as trainees because of giving into the enemy's provocation. And that's crap. Like, that's honestly crap. Like, you're telling me that I can't morph because I'm feeling a natural emotion? Yeah, I get it. It was from someone provoking, but that's still shit. And you can't deny that. But anywho, I guess, but who knows? With how the Earth is literally in this show, maybe it wants to get destroyed or something, since it felt like doing this shit. Anywho, it's short. It was for a short time that they lost their powers, and thank God. Okay, let me focus. Now, getting back to that, it's actually a technique that Mondrake and Dorepta created. When Dorepta stabs him in a certain area in the chest, he'll be able to use his powers to move the moon out of orbit and come to Mondrake's direction, meaning Earth. And they get back in the game, of course. And I like Alex's fight with Dorepta. It looked lovely to see them. It looked lovely seeing them clash, and the other Goseigers fight Mondrake. Oh shoot, that's right. In this episode, they do a special move as the other Goseigers came at and Monsdrake. Oh, they seal Monsdrake's technique temporarily, so they close him off so that they can beat Drepta. I had a hard time explaining this, but anywho, they use the Gosei Buster. They use the Gosei Buster on Drepta. He grows. Gosei Great and Data's Hyper now battle him, and that's not enough, to the point where they get a new combination with all the Zords they've got up to this point, making them Hyper Gosei Great. And I like the idea behind this mech. Now, although I do have it's everything together, and that's great. Although I do have one comment, it's that the dragon's wings come down to here. And I feel like with that there, it does block the arms. And so it feels, just having that there is a bit restrictive. Like, if the wings were up as they were in shoulder position and everything could just lock on from there, that would be pretty good. But yeah, but Hyper Gosei Great though is still nice because it's everything. The Goseiger Machines, the Seek headers, the Landric headers, the Sky headers, and Datas. And that takes care of Drepta for now. And now, next 3 episodes. Here we go. Now, skipping ahead to episode 15, Monsdrake has had it at this point. Plus, he is still grieving over Drepta, that he's going, fuck this, I'm going down there and I'm destroying this planet myself. And the Goseigers fight him, and of course, he overpowers them. And also, yeah, this is episode 15, and they are now fighting the big bad. And also, to wipe out the Earth, he parks the Warstar ship in a spot where it's hard for everything to breathe. And this is really dire. And the Goseigers alone go into this fight with no power up or special weapon. They just got what determination that they have, and it makes so much sense here that they're fighting it makes so much sense here how they're fighting the big bad, because once again I'm talking about Power Rangers, and this is episode 50. In Power Rangers, they fight the big bad. But it's the second to last episode. They fight Monsdrake in episode 15, and in the second to last episode of Megaforce, when they're fighting Malcor, at this point they've obtained power-ups, new Zords, whatnot, and they don't use it at all. And you have to imagine this from my perspective. When I was watching Megaforce, and I was sitting here are they going to summon what they have to use it against him? Nope. There. Got it out of my system, talked about it. And now, back to Goseiger. Monsdrake is super powerful. They're not even close to knocking him down. But they managed to get one hit on him. But of course that doesn't last. And Blitteron calls the BB bugs to make Monsdrake grow, and he does. But he also eats one just to show how badass he is. And with him growing giant size, he's going to use the Warstar ship to crush the land on Earth, to destroy everything. Now, and with Gosei Great and Datas, they try to fight him and destroy the ship, and can't, because Mons Drake first vaporizes the Gosei headers, and at first thought, I first thought that he destroyed the Zords, but then when they form Hyper Gosei Great, they're there, which is strange. We just saw him essentially destroy the Zords, but no, they're fine. But moving on, this time they aim to his wings, and that's it. So they had to stab the butterfly and bring it back to a caterpillar, and to basically save the world. But finally, with Hyper Gosei Great, they beat and destroy the War Stars. Oh yeah, and I also realized I haven't talked about Nozomu's dad yet. He's funny. Yeah, he's funny. And yeah, that's the end of the War Stars. Up until the next episode, where Dripta comes back. It turns out he never died, and he's been sneaking around beating the Goseigers one at a time like a phantom. And they don't even catch him the first time. They find Eri injured, and Agri and Monet find him, get their asses kicked, to when it's down to just Alita and Hyde, and realizes right away that he's after Alita. But fear not, because Alita can hold his own against him, and that's literally legit. Alita's fought Dripta multiple times, and he had his wins and losses, so he's up a level now and can finally and fully defeats Dripta. And now, to talk about Alita for a minute, people say that he's a bit of is a bitch, but Alita is actually a lot more than that. And he's the most admirable so far in this arc because of how much he can back up his seriousness. In episode 16, the title of the episode is Dynamic Alita, and seeing him go full serious is literally one of the best things ever, because if he makes a dead ass look on his face, run. And it shows how optimistic of a character he is when showing that rage, and I like that. But now, that's the end of the War Star arc. It was a good start into the show. The monsters were impressive. The villains were impressive. And I'd say what drives this arc would be the subplot of Alita's and Dripta's rivalry. Seeing the enemy go somewhere and how it ends. One's after shits and giggles, and the other is on a mission to become legitimate. Mind, it's not all that deep, but it's subtle, because Dripta's the reason why they can't go home. So now, episode 17. Now, bear with me. Not a lot of people is a fan of this arc, including myself. But bear with me. We can make it through this. And episode 17 is actually better than everything else. And it needs to be discussed. Now, episode 17, a new enemy, Yumaju. We are now introduced to the second villain faction of the show, the Earth Condemnation Group Yumaju. And they have been attacking underground, killing important people like politicians, celebrities, athletes, etc., by turning them into a sludge to melt the earth. Let me find the names of the generals are, give me one second, it's Makuin of, crap baskets. But still, yeah, the names of the generals are Makuin of the Blob and King Yuan of the Bigfoot. And his name is also. Oh, quick thing about them. Like, Makuin is based off of the Blob, of course, and King Yuan is based off of King Kong. And that's about it there. And he's also a bit annoying. King Yuan is. Just because he has this quirk where he repeats the last word of his sentence, and that it drives me nuts sometimes. But he does look cool though. I do like his design and his weapon because it's a double-edged kanabo. And now, for those of you that don't know what a kanabo is, a kanabo is like a club, but it will fuck you up into oblivion where you don't have a chance to recover. Now, for a moment to talk about the Yumaju monsters. They're based off of mythical creatures and yokai. And now, back to the episode. This is also the introduction of our Sixth Ranger, the knight fated to purify the earth, Goseiger Knight. Now, let's talk about Goseiger Knight's design for a minute. His suit is amazing. It looks completely robotic, like he should be an extra ranger, but he isn't. He is the Sixth Ranger, and probably because he still has the name Gosei, but that's probably not why. But appearance-wise, he should be an extra ranger, but instead he is the Sixth Ranger. And personally, I prefer him being the Sixth Ranger because he alone just looks so impressive. Plus, there aren't even any other Goseigers here, so yeah. So why not? And I really like his suit. It's gold, silver, and a red visor. And everything with his suit just complements each other. And not only that, Goseiger Knight is also a header. He is a header named Groundion, and he can also become his own Goseiger machine as well. Let's talk about that for a moment. As a header, he's a lion. For a header, first of all, he's a lion. That's his animal. And as a Zord, it's amazing. It looks fantastic. I really just like this. And if I could, this would probably be my second favorite mech in this show, with Groundion alone. And not only that, it's with Groundion, it's the Groundion header when it's combined and hybrid with an off-road dump truck. So, hell yes. But now, and also in episode 17, he beats him by himself as Groundion, his Zord form. Now, and it appears that Goseiger Knight alone has a history with the Yumaju, and we later learn that he's fought with the previous Goseigers beforehand, and comes off as a douche in the next episode. Literally, he's going around shooting up factories that cause pollution and and he's basically being an environmental fascist. Not even bothering to realize that destroying buildings and what not is causing more pollution by turning even an area of the city into a landfill. For one, that's about protecting the Earth. What on the planet is he protecting? Like, is he conservative? Because if so, it's not just plants. They're also part of the planet. There are also animals and people. Or is that the one race he wants to? Or is that the one race that he wants to rule for all the pollution crap? Like, literally. I'm sorry if I'm going on a rant about our Sixth Ranger, but he's causing more damage to the environment than the monster of this episode. And this is like episode 18, by the way, where we learn that the Yumaju are born from the darkness of the earth and have fought the previous Goseigers, like what I said before, 1,000 years ago with Goseiger Knight. And Goseiger Knight also... Oh, wait, I already talked about this part, about how he's actually a Gosei header, but he's lost his way from his crew one time and has been sleeping in ice for centuries. And the earth awoke in him when the Yumaju revived and evolved him into the form that is Goseiger Knight. Three more things about the Yumaju. One, they summon their monsters by summoning them from the dead, basically, because we see them at like a graveyard and call someone's name and they pop out of a grave. Two, the monster of this week's plan is to wrap people in gauze and everything else to rot the earth. That's not how pollution works. Mummification preserves, not rots, so instead of polluting the earth, you're basically protecting it to still keep its beauty. And three, Beredodon survived the Warstar destruction, and he is now Beredodon of the Chupacabra. Now let's talk about his form for a minute, because... Now let's talk about his form for a minute, because his Yumaju form's not bad. It's pretty, yeah, it looks very Scorpion-esque. But yeah, this form's not terrible. It looks pretty good. Probably my favorite. Now, quick spoiler right now. The Yumaju's mission is to destroy the world through pollution. Although the first Yuma Beast, except for the first Yuma Beast, none of the monsters in this arc do anything that actually involves pollution. You want to know what one pollution monster does in this arc? Causes pranks and screws around with technical devices, and are some of his antics dangerous? Yes, but still has nothing to do with the environment. And I've watched this episode, and I didn't even bother to finish it because the monster was a vandalistic jackass. Anyway, that happens in episode 22, by the way. My apologies for skipping an episode. Although, it was also an area focus episode where she's focusing on baking a cake, so just, But in episode 9, but for something important, in episodes 19 and 23, oh wait, those are also filler episodes, my bad. Wait, I take that back. Episode 19 is important because Goseiger Knight, we get to see Goseiger Knight's Megazord form, and we also get to see his mechs, Skyon and Ceylon, which are, let me see here. They're both based on lions. Although I'm a little curious right now. I know that Ceylon is based off a lion, but is Skyline? Okay, yeah, it is. For a second, I was assuming that Skyline was based off like an actual sea lion. But the three of them combine and make Gosei Ground. And this mech alone, it's not awful. It's not bad. Like, I find nothing wrong with the colors. Like, if there's one thing in this show, is that all the colors on these mechs, they do all complement each other because nothing's too much. So, yeah, that's that there. Now, in episode 23, the monster of the week is an old enemy of Goseiger Knights, who's actually been the only one so far who's actually been able to beat him. But in this episode, Goseiger Knight learns how to get his head out of his ass, and a miracle happens, meaning they get a new card, and they get a new card and unlock a new combination. And I have to charge my phone soon, so give me 1 second. And that's Ground Gosei Great. Now this mech alone is most likely this is my first favorite mech combination in this show, because it's Gosei Ground and Gosei Great combined together, and it looks fantastic. And everything isn't too much at all. Like, the Shark and Phoenix are the shoulders, while the Knight brothers are the arms. And it's just, I just really like how this is. I really like mechs that make themselves as big and as wide and bulky like Gosei Ground, because they look the most fantastic, seeing how many different ways that they can actually combine together, and it looks amazing. Ground Gosei Great is my personal favorite. It's my first favorite mech. I'll get to my second one later, and right now I have to take a break to charge my phone. Whoops, is my phone on right now? 5%. And let me see for a minute. How much else do I have to talk about? Yeah, alright. I'll take a break right here. I'll be right back. Alright, so next, episode 24 starts off with something special alluding from episode 23, because in this episode is where we get our team power-up from the Abare header that looks like a sword and makes contact with Alita to transform itself into good. By Alita, it transforms itself as now a force to good, because Alita almost committed suicide by running in front of the head of the dragon while firing at him. Is he Jesus? I have no idea. But he is. Is he Jesus? I don't know. But most likely parkour. But anywho, that changes the Abare header into the Miracle Gosei Dragon header, which releases four other Miracle Gosei headers that are just like the primary, like, Gosei headers. So there's a Miracle Gosei Dragon, Phoenix, Tiger, Shark, and Snake, which gives them the ability to become the super, which gives them the ability to become, well, the Super Goseigers. Now, let's talk about that. Now, let's talk about their power-up form as the Super Goseigers, because frankly, there's one part about this suit that I only like, and that's the shoulders. That's only on some of them. Alright, just pulled up a picture now. Yeah, the Super Goseigers. I like the shoulders. That's about it. I like the shoulders on Red, and I think maybe maybe on Red and Black, the head. I hear this is something that other people have complained about before. The head being in the front, making it a bit weird. But it makes sense because of the design of how their headers are. But like for a power up like this, I don't know, it's not too much. But I rest my case there. And afterwards, I gotta stop doing this. Buredon actually ends up being punished for holding out on them, and he gets back at them by using a Monster of the Week's power to make King Yuan think Makuen's talking shit about him when he isn't. Also, that was actually an episode, and it had nothing to do with pollution. Moving on, that goes on until episode 29, which is my personal. Oh yeah, while I was watching this, episode 29 was my personal favorite episode throughout this arc, because this is what's surprising to me. It starts off with Buredon's plan to use the Ire box, which is the box, by the way, that Makuen and King Yuan were both sealed in, and to capture everyone. And what's it? So Buredon is using the box used to seal the two General Yumajus to capture everything, including Makuen and King Yuan. And Buredon actually shows his true colors. And that goes on for about a minute because Makuen and King Yuan were a step ahead of him on his betrayal, which I honestly did not see coming. It astonished me the entire time, and it was amazing because, first of all, Makuen tricked Buredon with the box. He gave him a fake one while he had the real one, and the both of them just wreck his shit. and crap basket. My laptop. Wait, this could be better. Anywho, this episode, it sheds some light on both Makuen and Buredon. And god damn it, I'm sorry, I'm playing around with my laptop. And anywho, I'll be short. This episode ends well. First, Makuen and King Yuan, they beat the shit out of Buredon, and they steal the rest of his BB bugs to make him grow. And at the end of episode 29, they beat Buredon of the Chupacabra is defeated by Ground Goseiger Great. And think about it now, I really like that episode. It makes the villains look smarter than they seem, and our protagonists truly grow from here, not only being more courageous and mature, but also stronger. Like, they have officially changed. And I'm sorry for me moving my laptop around a lot. Right now I'm just trying to find a good angle on it so I can read all the words off my laptop. God damn it. Well, this is all I got. Now, next. We're finally getting to the end of the Yumaju arc. So episodes 31 and 32, like, we're almost through. Like, the Yumaju are their plan now is to spread this purple slime mold, thanks to Makuen's body, thanks to the Ure Box's powers. You can't just blast it and get rid of it. It will multiply, because it will multiply if you shoot it. and say, I just realized something. Bacterial substance that'll get on anything, and bacterial substance that'll get on anything and is effective, and it could act and is actually a health hazard. They finally came up with a plot about pollution, and it's not stupid or convoluted. Like, and to maintain it, to stop it, to maintain it to stop it from affecting people with the smell is by freezing it. This is interesting. And now, here's the thing about now. I want to find a good angle on my phone, and I found it. Now, I want to sum up the thing about pollution, villains, and I guess in this show or in general. Here's the thing about that. Oh wait, what's this other thing? Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. I got distracted for a minute. I was just reading over something. And apparently, okay. Anywho, here's what I'm going to say about pollution in this show and how they treat it. Pollution is treated like a sin, but what doesn't work about it is that the ones who chastise are the ones who are far more worse. Like, the Yumaju really hated pollution, then they would try to make things, then why would they try to make things worse, like, better, by bettering themselves, by using it for power? Like, you get what I mean? Like, if the Yumaju really hate pollution, then why would they try to make things better by making things worse? And same goes for Goseiger Night. Not to mention, nature groups exist. Some recycling companies, they don't just make landfills. They actually take time to sort out garbage and clean and make sure to reuse it as everyday life items. So I don't know if the show bothers getting into that further depth, or the Earth just not keeping both parties up to date on the human's progress so far. Well, yeah. Well, so far in this show, this is like episode 32, and the Earth is coming off as a bit of a dick. At least, and they're telling Goseiger Knight to act like a terrorist. But anywho, they beat Makuen, of course, but in reality, he's not defeated. He was actually collecting power to break apart and become part of the Ure box, which takes over a building, by the way, leading into the next episode of their master plan, which sounds like turning Makuen into Unicron, like, because that's the closest way I can describe it. Anywho, but also with Makuen fused with the Ure box, that creates a subspace that you can't return from, and the Goseigers are all in. No second guessing, no hesitation. Like, they're going all in, and they make it to the heart of the box where Makuen is finally destroyed there, and which triggers the subspace to implode on itself. And the only way they escape is by Master Header, because he uses the last of his energy, killing him to send to Earth the foundation stone of the Tower of Heaven, aka the final mech of the show, Gosei Ultimate. Now let's take a moment to talk about Gosei Ultimate, which is basically a ship. It's a spaceship created by angels, because this mech alone, to even make this, it was created by the power of everyone from Gosei World. But now, let's talk about the ship. I most likely really like this ship. As I'm looking at one picture right now, there's this one part where there's like a formation set that represents the face of Master Head. The Miracle Gosei headers take that spot there. But as the ship alone, it's not bad. It's pretty cool. Now, for the Megazord mode, it looks awesome. Like, Gosei Ultimate is my second personal favorite mech in this show. Like, it looks bulky, but it's not too bulky, and it just works. And I really like how the helmet is. Like, it's something I just really like all of it. And it's not a clash of colors. Like, it's not red, black, blue, yellow, pink, a little bit of gold, and some extra other colors that blend well together there. It's just 3 primary colors: silver, red, and gold. But this mech is primarily silver, and that's honestly a combination I never would have suspected that would work on each other. And yeah, Gosei Ultimate is fantastic looking. And while this is happening, Gosei Knight and King Yuan have been having it out and overpowers Gosei Ground. But that's fine there, because King Yuan now faces Gosei Ultimate in its first Megazord battle and beats it. And they beat King Yuan. Now, that's the end of the Yumaju arc. As it ends on a bittersweet note now, they literally can't return home with their resources now being converted into mechs to support them. And the Yumaju, they didn't really do it for me. Mainly because of King Yuan's repetitive quirk. But I don't blame the villains for me not personally liking this arc. I blame that on the Monsters of the Week, because their plans had never had a single thing to do with pollution and were overall stupid. And the pollution angle was fascist and stupid, stating that to stop the environment from being ruined, become a hypocrite. And now, we're finally done with the pollution arc. Now, we can get to my personal favorite arc in this show, switching from aliens to mutants, now to robots. My favorite villain group in this show, the Machine Onslaught Empire Mantratus. Now, one quick thing about them is that their group is a play on words, with the 2 words Matrix and Atlantis, which makes sense because, by the way, their base is underwater. Now, and the Mantras were originally an advanced civilization from 4,500 years ago, and must have had a Pangea experience, because, by the way, I looked up the time difference it would have to be for right now to 4,500 years ago. Pangea happened way farther than that. But anywho, for those of the Mantratus, we have the leader, Robogog, and his henchwoman, Metal Alice of the Agent. And they have been observing the Goseigers up until now, and they're generically about robots ruling over humans and thinking we're superior than you. But I don't care, because I'll take robots over pollution. I'll take robots over monsters about pollution any day. But now, to talk about their monster designs, these are awesome looking. These are awesome monster designs, by the way. Robogorg's my personal favorite, because he looks like a legit ruler. Oh, and here's another thing about Robogog that I see. Um, he is named after RoboCop and modeled after a sea angel. So, And for Meta Alice, she is named after Metropolis and modeled after a basket star. So, trivia. But still, like, the Mantroids are probably my favorite looking monsters in this arc. Because the Warstar monsters and the Yumichu, they weren't terrible. But I don't know what it is. With the Mantroids, probably because they're robotic and sleek designed. But now, like I said, the Mantroids arc is humans versus robots, who's the better race, and how far and dedicated the Goseigers are to fight for the humans and defend said statements. And with Goseiger Knight's development in this arc, it's a bit deliberate because for the last 13 episodes, once he started to really get in good with the team, but still keeps himself at a distance, he does it for him, but he's actually learned something from this the entire time about fighting for humans and camaraderie. I would have talked about... Oh, that reminds me. This show has one more mech that just shows up in the movie, and one episode that there is about it is about when Nozomu was going to meet his mom and his dad was going to meet his wife because she's away at work a lot, but at the end she misses their train because she was getting them souvenirs. To which I can now say this joke. Mommy wasn't there. And now it's in reverse. Because now it's not always dad. Thank you, Austin Powers. Anywho, let me talk about that mech now, since I already brought it up. Gosei Wonder, which is basically they replaced the dragon, phoenix, snake, tiger, and shark with, let's see here, an eagle, a beetle, a crocodile, which, by the way, it looks more like a liner train now, an elephant, and a dolphin. But yeah, Gosei Wonder was weird because this mech's either called Gosei Wonder or Wonder Gosei Great, but the eagle, no, like the body part of the eagle is literally a different body now, a different color. But either way, how this mech looks, like, two of the shades are very similar, and I don't know, it's not, and he gets an axe for a weapon. That's cool. But yeah, Gosei Wonder. I should really move my head down more. I gotta do something since I'm using my cell phone and that's as much angle as I can get. But this mech alone, I don't know. I'm looking at this one picture and these two different shades are a little off-putting because a darker blue and a different type of purple, I believe it is. But I don't know. It's something. I don't know. This mech's alright. I'll just save it at that. This mech's alright. And it will never be seen in the show set again. So now, episode 39, Buredaron comes back after being beaten again. He comes back again after being beaten by ground Gosei Great, and the man, and now I assume that the Mantroids must have found him and remodeled him into a cyborg, because now he is Buredoron of the cyborg. So yeah, and, oh crap, my stomach. And now, how do I put this? All he has is he is a Buredoron is a cyborg at the moment, but his hate, and all he has is his hatred for the Goseigers. So it's like he's half robotic, but yet he feels like an actual robot. Like, he's still Buredoron, but he's a robot now, and he takes orders, but he doesn't have his memories. Like, Robogog has them on a flash drive. And I want to take a moment from the plot to talk about the Mantroids. Robogog is ruthless. Like, he doesn't care about you, your mama, or how your day went. Like, he'll punish Meta Alice for a failure and even admits to her that he keeps her around to do maintenance on Buredoron. Like, out of all of the generals so far, even Mons Drake didn't go this far, but Robogog just doesn't give a shit. It made me look at my screen like, well, maybe if you got off your ass and did something, just a thought. And he actually does in episode 39, and again in episode 43. But before I talk about episode 43, they're also observant in their experiments, learning that the Goseigers will never give up, and not just because it's their mission, but their strong bond and camaraderie, to which gets Meta Alice, who respects and would do anything for her master Robogog, but it's not mutual, because he only views her as a servant that just needs to do her job. Nothing more, nothing less. Oh, speaking of which, this is an episode that happens that I wasn't going to talk about, but since it came to mind to me now, I'm going to talk about it. There's one episode of Goseiger, I think it's episode 41, because I think 39 and 40 are a two-parter. So yeah, episode 41, there's the monster of the week that's actually not a bad guy. Aries spends time with the monster, and they bond, and they hang out, and it's fun, like, because it was that episode of just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy. And the monster actually isn't a bad guy, because it's actually able to feel, because Aries showed him compassion. But here's now, how this episode ends is... Oh wait, I don't want to do that. I'll say this first. The monster has a bomb inside of him, and it could blow up at any minute if the villains bother to do something about it. But so instead, the Goseigers try to get rid of that detonator part of it. But instead, the monster, it turns into a psycho killer. Like, it becomes evil. And what else? Aries able to... They weren't able to get the detonator off of it, but the monster does come back to its senses, and it grows big. Aries goes to Gosei Ultimate and take the monster up into the sky, but then the monster realizes it's done for, so it pushes Gosei Ultimate off course, and the monster just blows up. And watching that alone, like, at first I didn't care about this episode, but then I saw that and I was like, okay, shit. Like, really? They just go as far as that? And, yeah. And if you've seen this episode before in, like, Megaforce, when they adapted it, nothing bad happens to the robot. At the end, the monster... No, the robot just flies off and lives its life. At the end of this, the robot dies. So, like, yeah. I don't know, I just wanted to say that just because it was a thought for a moment. But now, episode 42. It's another Data's-focused episode, and here's what it is. Meta Alice and Bergeron threaten to fire a missile at an international convention building because there's always a press conference at Japan, and I don't know, if someone fires a missile there, they'll start accusing one another. I don't know. Anywho, they said that they'll do it if they don't surrender Data to them, and they don't want to do that, but Data shows up and surrenders himself to them, and Hyde just lets him because in reality he can rely on Data enough, not as a machine but as an ally, that he'll find him and save him. This episode was amazing because I felt the compassion in this episode from Hyde and Data. They just worked so well off of each other because Hyde doesn't treat him like a machine. It's just because he is a machine. He has limits, like water. Like, and obviously, Datus is a computer, and he can't get wet or he'll break. And I really like this episode. Like, this arc has real heart into it, which is why I like it so much. And now, on to the good stuff. Episode 43, The Empire's General Attack. Robogog has now declared war with the Goseigers, but before then, Bergeron shows some compassion to Meta Alice by fixing her arm, and she brushes it off and says, I only helped you before because I was told to. I'm surprised that you even remember that considering you don't have memories. And exposes Robogog of having and extracting Bergeron's memories. Like, now, the battle starts, and first of all, I should have mentioned this earlier, each character has a good sense of fighting style. Like, not like a martial art, but personality style of fight choreography. Because with Alita, whenever he fights with a sword, he can straight up... It's swift, like the wind, and that's the only way I can consider describing it. But with Hyde, he's more poised and more positive. Like, he's more calm like water when fighting. Should have got a water bottle. But now, let's get down. Anyway, the first fight of this episode looks amazing just because it's an all-out battle. Like, it's a war, after all. And after they take care of the army, which is just BBs, so really no problem there. Alright, they're going through. So yeah, next they face Bergeron next, and he does a special move to rust all of their morphers, and the rest of this episode is just fighting desperately and maintaining their suits on until they get hit hard enough that they come off. And you can feel the desperation in this episode. You can almost sense that despair coming to them. And the five of them are just not giving up until Goseiger Knight makes a breakthrough and uses his Lion Cellular and does a Gosei technique combining all elements to capture Robogog's attack, absorbs the power from it, and give it to the Goseigers to morph, which takes a lot out of Goseiger Knight. Like, as soon as he does it, he passes out, and I totally thought he was dead. Like, he's a robot, of course. Like, he's robotic, of course, but he doesn't have eyes, just that visor. So you don't see his eyes closing, just the body drop. And so, Goseiger Knight's out, and the Goseigers and the Goseigers, they go out to five of them. And the Goseiger Knight's out, and the Goseigers are back in the game, and that they'll bear with whatever Robogog has. So Goseiger Knight passes out, and so it's just the five Goseigers going against Robogog, and them going in. Before they now consider Goseiger Knight as their sixth. Now they go to battle Robogog, and he sends Boredoron to suicide bomb him with the bomb that he has installed inside of him and Metal Alice that Robogog uses for punishments to punishes them. But before that happens, Metal Alice goes in instead and actually gets a hold of Alita so that when she blows up, he'll die too. It doesn't work. He basically breaks out of that quickly, and she just blows up, accomplishing nothing. And Robogog is just pissed at everyone. Goseigers, Metal Alice, and the Goseigers, they witness how Robogog treats his subjects, and all they do, they just stand there and just look and wonder, how could he treat his comrades like that? How could he be such a monster? And from that, Robogog actually tells his backstory from when Mantratus was an active civilization, say 4,500 years ago. There was a brilliant scientist who specialized in robotics and was outcasted by the rest of the population because they didn't understand and were afraid of it. Not too long after, there was a flood that was going to kill everyone if the doctor didn't help them. But instead, the doctor just went, fuck them, and everyone died, except for the doctor who put his mind or his body inside of one of his robots. And the doctor turns out to be Robogog, angry at humanity for their fear of what they don't understand. And that's the source of his behavior and his ideals. Now, forced to grow big, he is too much for Gosei Ultimate alone, so everyone gets in on this. Goseiger Knight and Datus using an ostrich auxiliary sword, which they have. I didn't mention it earlier because and they barely even use it, so why bother? Now, Alita, realizing that the doctor from Robogog's story was him, says, "Hey, last chance, stop." And of course, Robogog goes, "Fuck your warning," and decides to blow up the planet along with himself, sending off a really hot signature wave that nothing can get close to it. Like, they literally can't even go near him. And all it takes to beat him is, and keep in mind, the despair factor is real at this moment. And all it takes to beat him is Gosei Great riding Gosei Ultimate and just shooting him with a bow and arrow. And he goes down that way. That was pretty lackluster, to be honest. It just didn't work. But, moving on from there, Robogog, with that actually being able to hit him, Robogog is still not defeated yet, Because at this point, he's literally just ahead. And Bulleteron is standing right over him, saying to activate his self-repair switch. And shit hits the fan for Robogog. Like, Bulleteron destroys the self-repair switch because he's regained his memories from Meta Alice when Robogog wasn't around, and reveals that he intentionally didn't seal Goseiger Knight's powers so that his plan could fail. And after that, well, in this scene alone, I love it because Bulleteron is just evil. Like Bulleteron was evil before, but with the Yumaju, he was just sneaky. But in this, he's flat out scary. And he's just relishing how evil and scary he is in front of Robogog. And it gets even scarier when he asks him, how does it feel to be in the same position as the people you just let die? And he kills him. Holy shit. After that, he sees that Meta Alice is still alive, and he kills her too. Just because. Like, why would you do that? Just why? Bulleteron. Like, and I love episodes like episode 44 that leave me shook about the villains of the Sentai. Because it's a feeling I rarely ever get. And when I have it, it's just so... it catches me, and I'm so, like, scared of what's going to happen next. Like, oh my god. But, moving on to episode 45. And this show actually doesn't have a Christmas episode. Or even an episode where it just so happens to be Christmas. Like, we pick up right where we left off, with an open discussion about Bulleteron. Now, if you've seen this show or have been paying attention this entire time, then you guessed it. Like, Bulleteron's been a mystery for about the entire show up to this point because he was part of the War Stars, then the Yumajus, and then the Mantroids. And he turned his back on the Yumaju and the Mantroids. So, who is he? Where did he come from? And how does he know about the Gosei Angels? And who does he associate with? And now, and around at that time, Nozomu's dad himself is actually... oh, first, while this is happening, we also learn that Master Head is still alive. And this part's also funny. Master Head is still alive, and he has possessed Nozomu's dad in order to communicate with them. And the only way to tell the difference between who's who is that Master Head has a mustache on when he comes out. But, moving forward, while discussing the Yumajus with Master Head, he explains about a story from centuries ago about how among the previous Goseigers, there was the strongest Gosei angel ever, who was the one who sealed the Yumaju, and then after that, he disappeared. And there's no records about what happened to him or anything. So now, to the last half of episode 45, Bulleteron finally makes his move. They find him, and they first fight back with Tensou techniques, and then Bulleteron fights back with Tensou techniques. So, once again, if you've seen this show, or if you've been paying attention up to this point now, then you get the picture. Bulleteron is the former Gosei angel from thousands of years ago that date back to the previous Goseigers. He was the one who sealed the Yumaju, but at the cost of his comrades' lives, because he absorbed their Gosei power, which is their life source, and was shunned and disowned by Gosei World for it. And the only reason why there are no records about him is because he used the forbidden time travel technique to travel into the future at the cost of his humanity. And so after that, which brings me to another thing. It's like the story of, it's basically like the story of Lucifer. He is Buderon is an angel that fell from heaven and became the devil. And not to mention, his real name is Boregia of the Messiah. And this whole time, he's been playing the long con, because he worked from group to group to get rid of the Goseigers. And even as soon as the job was done, he was just going to get rid of whatever group he was in anyway. So, how diabolical Boregia really is has just been explained. Not to mention how irredeemable he truly is. And while Boregia has been conspiring to... He's had this plan saved for a long time now called the Earth Salvation Plan. Which, by the way, is... When a villain says he plans to save the Earth, that means he wants to destroy it. And how he does it is he has his own headers to fight the Goseigers, and eventually Goseiger Knight, because the Groundion header was originally Boregia's partner, and it'll happen through dark Gosei magic to make it work for him, to make him work for him. Now, with Boregia's 3 headers, there's one for land, one for sky, and one for sea. Now, and once they're destroyed, they'll become giant drills that will pierce through the earth during a solar eclipse 4 episodes from now. But for right now, Goseiger Knight's been manipulated into becoming Dark Goseiger Knight because of Boregia's influence. Now, the last 5 episodes of this show are just so amazing that I don't even know where to start off at. But I'm keeping an eye on my time, so I'm going to start. I'll say this. The next couple of episodes have just been header after header being destroyed and going further and further to the plan. But now, episode 48, Fighting Gosei Power. Alita's the only one with the conviction to actually take Goseiger Knight, and does so for about the entirety of this episode. With Alita and Goseiger Knight just fighting and struggling. Mostly from Alita, but he's fighting, trying to burn out the dark Gosei power from inside Goseiger Knight, and actually gathers enough energy on his own to just punch him back to normal. And it works. And now, so this is a pretty bittersweet ending. No, it's a bittersweet victory now because the third wedge is set. Moving forward, episode 49. Now, with all the wedges prepared to activate, but before that happens, Goseiger Knight goes to the Mantratus base where Boregia is so he can beat him. It doesn't work. The entire underwater base basically just gets blown up on him and he washes out to shore. So instead, he joins Datus and Master Header possessing Gosei Ultimate to stop the drills from basically destroying the ground. So on the other hand, our 5 Goseigers would be the ones fighting Boregia. It doesn't work at first, but then they try again. Like, and the second time, they all decide to, at one moment, they all decide to actually sacrifice their lives and give their Gosei power to Alita, so he could at least be on par to beat Boregia. But instead, Alita says, fuck no, because he and all of them don't want to beat Boregia by stooping to his level. And then freaking runs at him while getting blasted at. Like, pyrotechnics are being blasted off of him, and he just keeps going. Jaw-dropping moment, Boregia fires an attack, and Alita takes his whole fist and bitch smacks it away, because he is the second deadliest fighter on this team. And I say second deadliest fighter because he can go through all that, and when he fights some minions sometimes, he snaps their necks. But with that said, this is it. The moment we've been waiting for. Episode 50. The last epic. Protecting the Earth is an angel's duty. Now, we are now at the final episode. And it's the 5 of them versus Boregia. And this goes all kinds of directions. First, the final roll call. It feels so amazing. But now, back to the battle. This battle goes all kinds of directions. On the ground, in the Zords, and just Boregia alone is hard to go. He's not going down so easily, and he just won't go down. Not even blowing him away with the Zords is enough to kill him. So instead, Soul Calibur logic, during the solar eclipse, Alita gathers all of his energy into one sword slash that Boregia can't block and kills him that way. Just one straight slash through his entire body. And while that does end Boregia, he comes back up right before he dies and says, well, if I can't save the Earth, then I'll just destroy it instead. And then he dies. And with his death, the rest of his energy goes towards the drills that now pierce through the Earth, basically causing the apocalypse. Now, to take a moment, that's how we want to go out. When most Sentai villains, or at least from what I've seen, when most Sentai villains come out, it's always you will fall to our race, whether one way or not, or I will haunt you from hell. But this guy, on the other hand, he loses, but he still wins. And now, the Goseigers tried to stop it with their Tensou techniques, but of course that doesn't work against them. Against it. It won't work against something this strong. So, and the only way to end the apocalypse is by uniting together and creating a Tensou technique that rids dark Gosei power from the Earth, which spawns them angel wings and also creates a new Tower of Heaven. And that's it. They saved the world. Now, this ending alone, will this way of really saving the world and defeating Boregia alone, I had no idea how to feel about it, but it just, for them, you gotta do what you gotta do. Like, that's the title of this episode. Protecting the Earth is an angel's duty. And uniting together, it got the job done perfectly. So now that the world is saved, they are now fully fledged Gosei Angels and could actually go back to Gosei World now. But instead, they all decide that they want to stay on the surface to still watch over Earth and consider themselves still inexperienced there. And so it happens. They now stay on the Earth as their full-fledged Gosei Angels. And so everyone leaves. Datus goes back to Gosei World, and Goseiger Knight goes back to sleep to recharge his powers. And our main five goes about their separate ways. And the last thing I can remember hearing is, even when we're not there, we're nearby than you expect. And this last episode alone, all it does is just give you a good feeling. You have a moment to look and feel the despair factor, and at the end, you feel relieved that it's all over. And that is how we end Goseiger. Whew. It's been a long feeling. You talk about that finale alone, it's already giving me feelings. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about the characters now. Alita, Gosei Red. His character alone was very surprising because all you can think of when going into this, all I can think about is what people have said about his character before, that he was a bitch. But on the contrary, Alita is like the first character in the show that I pay attention to and consider totally admirable, because he's completely different than other Sentai Reds, and towards the end of the show, he does the one thing that any current Sentai Red, Tokyo Ichigo, Akaninja, hell, who else? He does the one thing. He has the one opportunity to defeat the final boss alone, and instead says, no, we're a team, we're going to end this together. And with that alone, I can respect him more as a character, and most likely a leader for this team, because he's the leader for this team. I mean, he is the leader of this team. Anyway, moving on. Eri, Pink. She really wasn't my personal favorite character in this show. I thought she was too easygoing and oblivious. Like in one episode where Agiri is working on an old man's farm, and he won her as a prize, and she is completely oblivious, thinking that he's just friendly to her, when really it's an old pervert. So yeah, Eri, but I will give her this though, that one episode with the robot I'll give her that, but not much else. But next, Agari, Black. He's not bad. I can like how compassionate he is when in some cases, but besides that, he was a bit too straightforward of a character, and that's all there really was with him. And so, there. He's the strong one. That's basically it. But he's not Leo from Zyuohger. That I will say. So next, Monet. Once again, Monet was also... Monet, I really I really didn't connect to her character in any formal way. I always thought she was too, like, irascible, childish, immature, for that matter. And so, that's just my opinion of her, really. Like, I really wasn't a big fan of her. Now, next, Hyde. Hyde, on the other hand, I really like how compassionate he is towards his comrades and the idea of camaraderie, period. Because it's something he needed to get back into his system. Because in episode 10, he confronts the monster who killed his partner. And so throughout that whole episode, he was in that strive for revenge. But towards the end, he had to learn to let go of revenge and remember that he has a mission. And at the end of the show, I ended up liking Hyde a bit more. But it was more of like a balance scale on me for how I actually feel about Hyde. Like, he's a bit boring, but then again, he's actually pretty good. He could dial back a little bit of boring, but back to being pretty good. And now, I like Hyde. He's a good character. And he's he's the smart one, but I really like how compassionate he is, especially with people who he consider his friends. Now, on to talking about the Sixth Ranger, Goseiger Knight. He was a bit of an ass at first, but he dialed back, and he's respectable. But on the other hand, he's no different than any other Sixth Ranger. Say like Timefire, Gal Silver, who else? I'd say, more or less Takurokugo. And so you get the idea. Goseiger Knight, he's pretty fine. He's also very chivalrous as well. And that's good for him. Now, let's talk about the villains. Not individually, or as a whole. The Mantroids were my favorite villain group throughout this entire season. Because the War Stars, they're not bad. And the Umajus are just, mainly because of the monsters. But still, the Mantroids, I just really liked them. I liked their goals. I liked their motivations. I liked how they had different ideals within reason. And I really liked their designs as well. And so, it's just impressive in my opinion. And so, yeah. That has been my review of Tensou Sentai Goseiger. Thank you for watching up to this point, and while doing this, I do realize one thing. It is nighttime. I started filming literally in the daytime, but then my phone started acting up, and I'm still working on fixing out that issue right now, but got it done. And thank you for watching this video and celebrating my first 100 days as a YouTube channel. Here's to hoping for another 100. And also, this alone was a very challenging thing to do. Doing a full show review today was a bit stressful, but hopefully in the future it won't be, because next I am doing Kamen Rider Kuga, the first of the Heisei era, and sometime in January, my first Kamen Rider review. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends, share this video if you'd like to. Leave your thoughts of Goseiger down in the comments below, because I went into this show not remembering much about it, and I left it really liking Goseiger. I like some of the characters. I like the villains. I like two groups. I like 2 out of the 3 of the villain groups. And this was a challenge, and doing this review alone was a bit of a challenge, but hopefully, like I said, I will be doing this again, so no sweat it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.